Sure. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Hi. I'll start with introducing myself. So I'm Susanna Obradovic from Chainalysis, one of the main blockchain analytics company in the world. My job is to make sure that the Middle East and Africa region is growing. And right now I'll be talking to you about the things, how do we do it and why the blockchain analytics are very important. Please, at any point of time, if you have any questions, interrupt me. I'm happy to answer them. I'd like this to be a little bit more interactive than normally the sessions are. And the idea is just to give you a little of insights on in the world of the blockchain analytics, and then perhaps, I don't know, trigger a little bit of interest on your side in this space, because I think it's very interesting, and the cryptocurrencies are here to stay.
Susanna, you'll have 10 minutes for the presentation and then 5 minutes for Q&A. So if anybody has questions, we'll take them after the session, okay?
Perfect, that sounds good. Okay, this is just a little disclaimer. The majority of the things that I put in this presentation are coming from my current company. So, and the reason that I choose to use them is because they are truly a leader when it comes to the data in the world of the blockchain. A lot of the other companies are independent sources would quote the companies. So there are a couple of data that are interesting, and I hope you will like what you are about to see. I'm starting with the history of the blockchain. So because I'm not in person there, I cannot really have an idea how much you guys know about it. So we'll start with the basics. So on October 31st in 2008, there was a white paper written on a Bitcoin, or the initial blockchain use case. And then in January 3rd, 2009, the first Bitcoin block, or so-called Genesis block, was mined. This block was mined by a person or a group of people going with the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. It's still not clear if this is one person or more people. And apparently in the first version of it had a reference to one article that came out just as the world is entering the crisis that you might remember from 2008, where there was a major economic crisis caused by the financial institution. Initial use case of the blockchain, of the Bitcoin, was to kind of go around the financial institutions and the rigidity of the system, and the fact that the world it does depend and is run by the other, like a very small group of people. An idea of the Bitcoin was to kind of bring that sort of decentralized, very cheap way to transfer the money across the borders. However, as it's usually with the new technologies, the first and largest adoption, unfortunately, went with the criminals, so, and earned to a very bad reputation to the cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin, or in the whole, like all cryptocurrencies, have a major principle, which is the transparency and immutability. So there is no way to change anything that happens. So one transaction is committed forever, and it's transparent, so it's available for everybody to see it. Of course, this kind of initial idea of the transparency, but without the actual physical person being behind something, created a lot of misconception, and everybody believed that these transactions are completely anonymous. And as you might have noticed or realized in the past few years, due to so many use cases and like criminal cases that were brought to the court, definitely is not case that they are anonymous, they are just pseudonymous. So there is a way to kind of try to hide behind, but eventually everybody would get to the point that they would want to have cash for their cryptos and would eventually leave the trace, which is a physical, which is yes, sure. I'm gonna share with you a statistic from 2022, which is done by the company I work for, Chainalysis, and illicit transactions are all-time lows. So it's only 0.115% of the old volume of the cryptocurrencies that is illicit. Illicit means not necessarily legal, but it can be suspicious. But in the terms of the dollar value, that is still very high. It's $14 billion between September 2021 and 2022. September 2022 was part of the illicit activities. The categories that are very much growing are the scam, stolen funds, and dark markets. So I'll speak a little bit more about it. To give you just one sense of this is how the normal blockchain data looks like. It's public, of course, but it's not easy to read to a human being. So therefore, companies came up with the analytical methodologies to kind of de-anonymize the blockchain transactions. So over 2/3 of the activities are with the services. When I say services, that usually means it somehow in one way or the other has touched the exchanges, crypto exchanges. Therefore, companies are combining the addresses that they're known are with the exchanges and put them together to organize the information so that whoever uses this technology is capable of finding out who they are interacting with. These are the 4 principles of blockchain analytics, and this is basically adopted by all the major companies in this space. So the first thing that everybody does is clustering, or they create the entities. One of the examples would be vast majority of the transactions that belong, for example, to exchanges would be added as an entity. And then the next level is attributing. So when it's not only an exchange, but you also actually know the labels around it. So it's given to the entities in the analytic space. Then the next level would be categorization, where it's clear that is it a true exchange, or is it hosted wallet? Is it ATM? And these categories can also go into the next level. So where companies like any company actually that does the blockchain analytics would point out the exposure through that. So it would be exchanges could be high risk exchange would be just a standard exchange. Then it would be exposure to the child abuse material and so on. And this is all the data are driven through the transactions that either already happened. So somebody reported it back to the law enforcement, and then law enforcement shared with the companies like Chainalysis. And then they would do a mapping in the tool itself. So when the person who is using the tool is capable of seeing what it is. As I mentioned, so the initial use of the cryptocurrencies was on the criminal side more than the actually usual normal transactions. And everything started with the Mt. Gox in 2014, which was the largest exchange. It had over 70% of all the Bitcoin in the world. They were pretty much hacked and went into bankruptcy very shortly after, which is to date largest volume of money lost, even including FTX today. So, and then so on and so forth. Every year there was a major crypto. Yeah, so I'm going just through this quickly. So all of those that you see, The beauty of the blockchain analytics company is that they actually contribute to the betterment of the world by being part of the major investigation cases. In some cases, it also includes the seizing the money and actually giving it back to the original owner, which is great. One of the major investigation cases which my company is in particular proud of is the 2019 Welcome to the Videos and South Korean child abuse website that led to 700 arrests around the world and 24 children being released from their captivity. Also, I'm not sure how much you guys know about the Lazarus Group, but they are very much present in the world and are one of the largest crypto hackers today. So a lot of their funds in the world can be sized and tracked fully to the where they are trying to cash in so that they can use the money for whatever they use it for. This is just one of the examples so that you see how complex it can be. On the left side is the stolen funds. And then every line that you see is trying to kind of obfuscate the whole process by splitting all these transactions to many small transactions. And eventually on the right side, you'll see 4 dots, which is when they try to cash it in the exchanges. This is done by a company I mentioned already a few times right now, this whole graph. So the complexity of the analytics can be seen here, but this inevitably leads to capturing either the people who are trying to cash in or and take them to the court. And these analytics can withstand the court used in courts. As I don't have more time, probably it's good to stop here and then ask people if they have any questions, because then it will be more interactive and more interesting for sure. Majid, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm asking the audience if they have questions. I'll see if there's any online. No questions online either. If you have some more content, you can go ahead. You have 3 minutes to go as part of the time of the Q&A.
Can one of you pick maybe one of the cases here that I could expand on and explain what happens? Because
I mean, you can talk about one of the cases because we have 2 minutes to go. So you.
All right. So let's say with the North Korean crypto hackers. So what happens is they would usually steal from either an exchange or, for example, you all heard on the breach when Ethereum did I think early September. And usually they're very much prepared to exploit these kind of things. So they would reside somewhere very near to the North Korean border, but probably from China, and would be attacking the space from there. Once they steal the money from either exploiting one of the weaknesses of the system or like stealing it from somebody and so on, they would park it usually in one of the places and then slowly but surely push it around until the point of time that they're needing the cash, where there would be a person in one of the countries somewhere would go to the normal exchange, centralized exchange. It would be Binance or an equivalent of Binance, where is the first time that you actually can see their ID, because all of these exchanges are requiring, not all of them, most of the exchanges are requiring the know your customer. So when you're applying for an address with them, you have to submit your ID and your selfie. So, and all of these are often fake. This is usually the way for the law enforcement to dig and find the people in person. And then once somebody is arrested, usually they seize from them laptops, mobile phones with more addresses, which usually lead to the further investigation. So these processes are always longer, but because they require a lot of people to be involved. And that is like a usually international law enforcement agencies, a lot of people from investigation companies. So one of them is mine, for example. We have a strong 150 people who are investigators, and whose job is also to enrich the data that we have. So, for example, when one of these happens, all these addresses would be mapped back to the in our software, and you would find there all the data that you would need. So another one is
There's no time for another one, Susanna.
Sorry?
There's no time for another one, I'm afraid. We ran out of time.
No, we are out of time, but that was the on the North Korea. So they're very active. They're largest in the world at the moment. So if anybody is interested, you can Google. There are a lot of things that journalists and other companies are publishing around that.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I hope I sparked a little bit of interest from people to dig a little bit more. There are way more details. I didn't want to go into the tools and categories and everything more than this, but happy to share with somebody if they are interested in any way.
If we have questions from the audience later on, I'll point them out to your way later on, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have fun today.